Of all the decisions you could make, that's in fact one of them. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Sunday night, viewer games coming at you. We had a little bit of Monster of the Week action yesterday, and of course, by the time this goes live on YouTube, you'll already be aware, but we did have Face Your Fears, our resident Phobies podcast with my co-host Karst, happened on Friday, this past Friday now. So we talked a lot about the patch and our initial thoughts and what our hopes are going forward, that sort of thing. And I mean, we didn't even cover everything, and it still went exceptionally long. So if you're interested in checking that out, you know where to find it. Check out the other videos on the YouTube. Other than that, got to get it out at the front, of course, part of the content affiliate program. That means the Phobies team does, in fact, give me coffee for producing Phobies content. So without much further ado, let's look at some viewer games, because the viewers, despite me pausing the game submission, I paused the game submission briefly because I was away. That's why we didn't stream last weekend. And yeah, they came back with a vengeance, we'll say. I was debating last night when I looked at it. I'm like, you know what? Maybe we'll go a little bit longer and we'll we'll just do another long one. We'll get through them all. And that's not happening. That's not going to happen because there were a lot of games. There were a lot of games going all the way back to, some of them going back to June. Those games probably aren't going to work. I'm just going to put it out there. Those games probably are going to be broken, depending on how they're broken, because they might still work given the changes to the new patch rollout. Or not rollout, but like the new patch deployment allows for the replays to sort of work. And sort of work is kind of a stretch. So we're going to take a peek here. We're going to be looking at, here it is. This is a long one. Strap in. We're on Chapeltown. Karst is our hero. Let's see what Karst has got in store for us. We've got this MF and Phantom. We talked a bit about Phantom the other night. I don't know. I just don't, and because we started to like run long, I was kind of like not pressuring Karst, but like just trying to keep things moving, because both of us will get kind of wordy, and we had a lot of things to discuss. And the issue with Phantom for me still comes back to the central idea of Phantom. What it does is just inherently broken. It just is. I feel like Phantom could be teleport one space, and it possibly, like, it would still be justifiable, because I can already hear people going, well, then why would you just use Shove Shark? Because Phantom it technically displaces two no matter what, because you're going to the other side of the phobia. So, like, look at the Jin Sting here. Pretend that obstacle between Jin Sting and Klepto was not there. If you were to flip a phobia over Jin Sting and put it from behind to in front, it moves two spaces. Which I guess maybe that isn't really significantly different than Shove Shark, because Shove Shark would still push it to that space. I don't know. All of that to explain that, yeah, that doesn't really make it significantly different than Shove Shark. I just don't see a way that the idea for Phantom will ever be palatable. You know what I mean? Like, I think with in lieu of a rework where it's, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this in the most concise manner without like rambling and then having to re-explain it. But it boils down to this, I guess. If Phantom is not reworked, I don't think it will ever be in a state that the community is comfortable with. Yo, shout out to Radiator here. The reason that I say that is it fundamentally breaks a rule of the game. And I just don't think that you can do that. Like, in any game, if you break one of the fundamental rules of the game, you end up with a broken thing, right? That's why it's powerful, because it's doing something it quote-unquote should be unable to do. And speak of the devil, here's Phantom. So, in this case, like, it's kind of a simple example to see if you took, say, a 1 key. If you took a 1 key, say there's a brand new 1 key that came out, and it had the stats of Hematic Ginsting. It doesn't have the power, but it just has the health of a 6 key, the damage of a 6 key, and it's ranged. That would be broken, right? Way too powerful. But why is it broken? Well, because it does more than it should for the cost you're paying. And that's kind of what the root of the issue is with Phantom and some of these other things, where you're getting an outsized benefit compared to the cost you have to pay. And then there's also the issue of, like, what exactly is the counterplay to Phantom? Karst has mentioned on the podcast that they were able to rush down Phantoms since the patch a little bit. I'm of the opinion that I think it really comes down more to map design. Also, the Speedolas as a counter to Phantom is not exactly the thought I was planning on. Thought I had, rather. Is it a dead Shove Shark? It's gotta be, right? Yo, how many people are gonna disrespect the Speedolas and just be like, nah, you can't do it? I mean, this Kaboom could be valuable here. It's only gonna hit 2 things, realistically. It's going to connect with Ginsting Speedola if bad guy goes for it. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to envision a world where, because any time that Phantom goes off and does explicitly what it is intended to do, and I'm pretty sure the devs have said this in Ask the Devs, I feel like one of them responded to me and asked the devs, because somebody was complaining about it, or maybe it was in one of the suggestion threads. But somebody was complaining about it, and I said something to the effect of, like, but it's doing what it's clearly working as designed, maybe not as intended, and that is potentially the issue of that the devs didn't expect, not that they didn't expect it, but they don't want it to be as powerful as it was, and possibly still is. But I'm having difficulty envisioning a world where it will not be that powerful. You know what I mean? Like, it's always going to be that strong. Because what it does is just bonkers. And it feels as though it's in the bad sushi category. Which I know probably sounds like an insane statement to a lot of people. But I think it's in the bad sushi category of, it's either going to be busted or you have to nerf it to the point that it is useless. Bad Sushi is kind of the other way, where Bad Sushi is terrible, and in order to make it playable, again, both of these are in lieu of a rework. Bad Sushi is in the position where if you don't rework it, it is probably worthless. Because in order to make it playable, you'd have to buff it to the point where it will be problematic due to how powerful it is. Like, if Bad Sushi had 5,000 health, that would likely be problematic for the game as a whole. However, I think Phantom's in a similar position. I don't know that... And as I said, Karst was indicating they were able to rush down Phantoms. This is not a great example of rushing it down. This is a much more passive, I guess, approach to addressing. I mean, you kind of have to because of the Kaboom. But if Phantom had however much less health, it would clearly be worse than it is today. But I don't know how many maps allow you to truly pressure and really threaten a Phantom player, either through panic points, pressuring their team, attacking the heart, whatever it is. Dokuro, what's good? Reese, what's good? So yeah, this is a 43-turn game. That's why I didn't really feel compelled to, like, call out everything that was happening, because we have a lot of game, even though Karst is now at 0 keys and Bad Guy still has 7. Bad Guy's obviously making an extensive effort. I'm very curious, like, is the Mr. Trample supposed to be a response to the Kaboom to, like, pseudo... Ooh. Alright, Bad Guy getting a little cheeky here. Alright, we're spreading out for reasons. This is more just like... I feel like this is just kind of baiting things, and then, of course, trying to dodge the brony so that you don't get blown out. I didn't see whether this was arena or async, because Karst made it sound like the other day that they've been playing a lot more arena as of late, even though they prefer async. And Karst did bring up an interesting point that we didn't really get to touch on much, but the game is... And I've always felt this way, it's just progressively gotten more challenging in this respect, that explicitly for arena, it can be very, very difficult to find even, like, reasonable plays compared to the best play. Because it's not just a matter of, oh, well, they have this many keys and they could do this, or this is the likely thing. It's just sometimes, now we're at the point the cast of Phobies is large enough that it's like, oh, Luffy with the resubscribe, much appreciated. 33 months. A long time when you think about it. That's a long time. Hello, I arrived. The stream it's now 10% worse. Why is that? A lot of months of gazing into your eyes, listening to the soothing, dulcet tones of my voice. As people always say that my voice is nice to fall asleep to. I don't think my wife says the same thing anymore. I think she would have said that at one point. Probably not anymore. Now she just wants me to shut up. But thank you, Luffy. Much appreciated. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, the Phobies cast. We're at the point where I do think it's actually, like, just literally remembering all of the Phobies cards. Like, all of the potential Phobies that could happen at a given point in time are... or is becoming exceptionally difficult, especially in Arena, because you're on the timer of trying to figure it out. Now, this is true in any of these sort of games, and it kind of is a, like, that's a you problem, figure it out sort of thing. The difference with Phobies is you... A hype train? Oh, Reese, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Much appreciated, and welcome. Get that little Chompers action going. I do have a new... Well, I officially now have a Chompers toy. I officially have a Chompers toy now. Maybe later. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I want to get this point out about Phobies before I... as I keep getting distracted. In other games, like say you play a card game and it's like, oh, well, there's 4 or 5 meta decks. And those meta decks are likely... You have some may be different flavors of aggro, some may be different flavors of mid-range, or different flavors of control or combo or whatever, and they probably all use different pieces. But at a certain point, you do decrease, by virtue of there being a meta. Having a set meta is a good thing for a variety of reasons, but I'm going to explain one of them. People love to complain about, oh, you're just playing meta stuff. But the advantage of having meta stuff is that it does break up things into more manageable and digestible chunks for players that are trying to improve. It's not trying to drink the ocean. Because you end up in the scenario where exactly this. Even players like Karst I'm pretty sure karst has been around since the very, very beginning, like day one. I've been around since day one. There are other people who've been around since before day one is, and they probably played in the beta or whatever. I don't know who it is, but I'm sure they're around. The point is that even with the familiarity of the play of the Phobie cast, I forget a bunch of the Phobies sometimes. Like, oh yeah, that thing exists. Like, they have 8 keys. There's a ton of Phobies that could come out at any given point. As compared to a card game where it's like, at least, oh, my opponent's playing these colors. They're playing this strategy. They're doing this. It narrows the field. But Phobies is such a pick-counter-pick game that by virtue of you committing to something, you've actually increased your opponent's options as opposed to decrease them, or potentially, because now that you've made a commitment and you've maxed out, or you've made a commitment and now you're out of keys, or you've reduced your keys to certain things, now your opponent has the option to like, oh, you put a big mech on the board? All right, well now all of these electricals that I probably wasn't going to consider before are now on the table. And the level of variability in what your opponent could deploy versus what you could deploy at any given point in time is always in flux because of the way Phobies is structured. And even aside from all that, there is the simple logistical issue of quite literally trying to find the Phobie in your collection during the game. Yes, the favorites exist. Yes, you can sort a little bit, but it's very clunky, and especially when it's like, oh, I need to do 6 moves plus their animations. Wait, I meant to do this. I need to undo 4 of them. Oh no, I'm almost out of time. Run. All right, fine. I'm just putting Klepto on the board because Klepto's generic and good enough. Interestingly enough, we're not going for the Kaboom here. This is a very interesting invade. Because you're not going to push up the Jin Sting, right? Now, admittedly, bad guy here does not really have a ton of damage unless they commit the Kaboom to a given body. So they're choosing to take out Mr. Tramples here, and they're going to have enough damage to either have killed that, or if they committed everything onto one of the Speedolas, they probably could have gotten it. And like I said, they're prioritizing Mr. Tramples. But now, this is weird. The Brony... Okay, so the Brony's had... Or excuse me, the Phantom has had 2 targets. The Kaboom and the Brony. I don't think the Phantom, even because I've been yapping a lot and I got distracted, I don't think the Phantom is really... Like, it never used its ability. Which... So here's a question to people that are watching this game, and I know it was really disjointed because I was rambling about a lot of other stuff, and then we came back to the game, and then we paused and blah, blah, blah. But, what the did it just me, or did it look like the Speedola got petrified there? Like Gargle's petrified. Okay, we get the Phantom Brony, like, I don't even know that this is good right now. Like, look, this bad guy basically has 2 Phobies. His Phantom is all the way up here and poisoned. This is a good play, blocking this off. So, how much of this was viable for karst as a result and directly because of the map structure? There are tons of maps where karst probably... It would just be literally impossible to dodge both of those things. Now, bad guy, I think, made a number of mistakes by not pressuring. It felt like the Brony was constantly dirtling by the healing spa and never actually like, really getting involved. I mean, yes, there was the Phantom play of like, oh, well, I'll move the Brony up 2 spaces and then Phantom 2 spaces and then teleport him, and then voila, it's sitting in the middle of your team or something like that. But I don't even know that that was great. I don't know. I mean, karst played this very well. Stayed spread out. never really fell behind on an enormous amount of panic points. There were times where Karst did not have a panic point advantage, but bad guy could not just be, oh, well, you have to hard commit into me, and then I blow you out with either a kaboom or a brony or both. Like, they never really had that option. And the mobility from the Speedolas, I was pointing towards the map structure, allowing cars to spread out and yet still retain the ability to collapse. But the reason that that was even remotely possible is because the Speedolas were and are very mobile, which, again, I was knocking on them earlier. Obviously, we lost the blue one, so, less mobile now, but I was knocking on them earlier because it seemed like a weird response, but the mobility and I'm curious, I'm sure Karst was thinking this, but I wonder if this was explicitly the plan. Karst's ability to avoid really being forced into engaging with these things, but still threaten, hey, I could get back there and do something if you aren't careful. I'm kind of coming around to the idea after Karst and I spoke about it the other night. I'm still not a huge fan of 3 Rangers, like the Sentinels specifically. And I am still very leery of 3 movers. But I think the team has demonstrated thus far that they are handling 3 movers, aka the Speedolas and Jaws, way better than they handled the Sentinels. Like, the Sentinels just are problematic. All of them. But is anybody going to say Speedola or Jaws is problematic? And to be perfectly honest, I think they have the same range, right? Like, you move 3 and then they hit the next spot. You could move 1 and then shoot 3 down, depending on which one we're talking about. It might just literally be because they're melee and that's why they're balanced. Because melee sucks. I don't know. Unfortunately, sorry, Karst, we were rambling a lot through your game. I think you played it well. The main thing is I really, and this is not to take anything away from, because Karst obviously had to play it well to avoid getting blown out, but it kind of felt like, and I know I mentioned this, but I didn't emphasize it enough, that bad guy just didn't really try and pressure or capitalize on stuff. Like, they had the Phantom, and then they had 10 keys. They had they did have 15 keys worth of I have Phantom plays. Because it was 5 for Phantom, 7 for Brony, and 3 for Kaboom. And did nothing. Or effectively, not literally nothing, but effectively nothing with it. It's just, it's a lot of keys to do doo-doo. Now, we're trying to figure out if a mini PC is right for my wife. Because her laptop is kind of cooked. Almost literally. It's becoming a problem at this point. It's a very old laptop. So we're looking at mini PCs, but I hate computers. I really hate computers. So, like, I hate researching it and then being like, oh, well, it's this, and everything's always like, well, if you spend $100 more, you can move up this much. And I'm like, and I don't want to dick around with, like, actually building it again, because I built them before. Like, the one I stream on, I built, and I hate it. I hate tinkering with them. I hate trying to maintain them. I hate trying to keep up with the Joneses. It's just a pain in the butt. This is why I like consoles, because it's just, I buy the thing and it works. I don't want to screw around with it. So that's why I was looking at, like, mini PCs, the form factor, and then it's pre-built, but here, it's also becoming this big mix and match game, and, like, I'm just tired. I'm tired of this. You know what I'm not tired of? Apparently Chapeltown games, because we're going to look at coccojuice. It is coccojuice, right? Yeah. I was looking at the spreadsheet, and it looked weird for a second. It looked like cuckoo juice for a second. I'm like, I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs or something. I don't know where this was going. But anyway, level 3 versus level 25 Brony. Well, our hero here in the blue trunks up against Karth, who is a common bad guy. I do have a spoiler alert for you. levels generally don't matter for Brony. However, I will say that's a level 10 cowbell. That is a level 25, as in 25 cowbell. Huge, enormous difference. Laptops these days are so good it's hard to go PC unless you're serious about it. The thing is that, I mean, that's always kind of like, laptops are always good and bad. Like, I've always seen laptops that are comparable to PCs, like throughout my entire IT career and stuff like that. And yes, they've definitely gotten better. But the thing is that there are persistent issues with you're stuffing a lot of stuff into a small, intended to be mobile form factor in the laptop. And I know many PCs are small form factor, but it's a smaller form factor. They are just inherently going to have overheating issues, right? They just are. As much as I hate tinkering with things, hypothetically, I could upgrade the PC. And it really does come down to, ultimately, like, do we need the laptop because we want... Again, with the speedolas, is this like the new hotness on this map? Has it always been? We've seen a bunch of games on here. I don't remember seeing speedolas before. But as far as the laptops go, like, the challenge is, like, if we don't need it to travel, like, this is intended to... So she could play a few games. Like, maybe we'll play a game together, like we used to back in the day. But it's going to be, like, her work PC kind of thing. So it's not... It doesn't need to be a lot. And I don't think she intends to, like, have it on her lap. Like, if we're watching TV sort of thing. So it doesn't need to be moved around. And, I mean, that's another issue, is also, like, having the battery stuffed in to the device obviously takes up space there by cramming more parts tighter. Like, there are just physical logistics of a lap. I can't believe we have a speedola stare down here. We'll talk about laptops in between. We gotta focus on the game. Because now this is getting bonkers. This is getting weird. I am feeling less tired than yesterday, chat. I could kind of feel it with, when I was casting the Monster of the Week games. I'll say that the icy I got earlier helped me cool off. What is your favorite flavor of icy, chat? Or YouTube, for that matter. For me, I gotta go with the classic. It's gotta be cherry. I did get a watermelon this time. Bad guy just hates their speedola. This is a, they're getting cooked at, is WrestleMania even still a thing? Like, do they call it something else now? It's also body blocked in, notably, which is hilarious. But here's the level 3 Brony. Now, I did call out that the levels on Brony don't really matter. Obviously, the ability works independent of your opponent's level. God help us if it was the other way around. Dude, the speedola died! Not like this! Not like this. What's the difference on these speedolas? But where I was going with this is the level differential is less about the differential. Oh my god. I mean, here the differential matters. These are just big dummies who punch stuff good. The bigger numbers win. But the level differential on Brony explicitly doesn't really matter, except when it's all about the... Like... The Brony could get burned down relatively easily when your opponent outlevels you by double, and the double is like 25 or 24 to 12. Artificers are just metal necromancers. I don't actually know if that's true, only because I don't know what the rules for artificers are. Like, I get the joke, but, like, I don't know how well that joke works. Also, I appreciate our hero being unafraid to slam the Brony onto the poison tiles. W's, what's good? There was a funny... There's the counter, Brony. There was a funny D&D thing that popped up on YouTube earlier today that's like, if there was a centaur vampire, which heart would you have to stake it in? The human heart or the horse heart? There's also another funny one that was like... Kerbloom! That wasn't what the D&D short was. Tick goes pop. You love to see that. Ticks are gross. Not a fan of those. Hero, I don't get the squiggles. I'm not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. Technically, the human heart? I don't know. Like, are you saying that the horse half of a vampire centaur is not a vampire? How does that work? Like, imagine you had a silver-tipped spear, right? I mean, it's not a wooden stake. Or, okay, it's not even a silver-tipped spear. It's just a wooden spear. And that's what you would do, like a wooden lance, we'll say. That's how you would fight against cavalry in medieval warfare, is you have a bunch of lances, or pikes, or spears, or whatever, and you dig them in the ground, and then the horses would charge, and they would leap on them and get impaled. Would that not be the appropriate way to address a vampire centaur? All right, we're getting the heal going down on Brony here. 6 keys to 8 keys remaining. I'm not going to lie. Like, bad guy just hemorrhaged. Like, game, please. Actually, they didn't lose as much as I thought. That's 8, 9, 10. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's actually pretty close. It's pretty close. Our hero under some pressure, though. A few things are still bronied, one way or the other. In D&D, we're talking about ripping off other parts of other robots to revive ours. I guess it depends on whether the robots in your D&D campaign are like droids in Star Wars or not, where they're semi-sentient or are sentient. I don't know if that was ever clarified in Star Wars lore. Because, like, the droids are self-aware. Also, I'm not gonna lie. Again, with the flashbang. Surprise. There you go. Dude, why are you going with, like, the whole droney family? What is happening here? 38-18. Like, what is the... How does our hero win this? Do they get to brony again? You'll never live. Right? I don't think you live to brony again unless... Oh, wait, no, No, that's bad guy's brony. Never mind. It was walking that way, so it got turned around. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not seeing the win condition. I also don't understand the Tiny Tim. Oh, wait, Tiny Tim got buffed. That's why. See, you're seeing it here. This is why Tiny Tim got buffed. Dude, it has 2 turns on this cooldown. Like, what is the plan? Wait, do you race with squiggles? No. That can't... Well, you do have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1 panic point advantage. Okay. Okay, let him cook. Let him cook. Smart to block Morty. True. No easy access for Morty. Also, notably with Tiny Tim, so, like, bad guy just surrendered. They realized they couldn't get there, and there was a squiggles. Dude, this was looking horrendous, and then it was just one of those, oh, well played. Well played, Cocoa Puffs. Yeah, this actually turned out really cool. The thing's gonna crash because I hit back. I crashed the whole game. I crashed the whole game because I hit back. If you're at the end of a replay and you try, like, you pause it, like shit. Hold on, chat. I gotta wait for Phobies to, like, officially close according to Steam. Then we can get back in there. But if you're watching a replay and you pause on the last turn, like I did there, when the heart is dead, and you try and roll it back, it can't pull the data from the server anymore because it thinks that it's totally done. Oh, I have to force stop Phobies. Hold, please. Here, I was thinking the squiggles was bad. Like, I questioned the squiggles. I was like, I don't know about that one, but I think our hero, and admittedly, like, we were rambling about other things, so I was a little distracted. I get mixed responses from people in comments where they're like, yeah, I'm here to hang out and listen to you talk about random stuff. And then other people get upset because it's like, no, I want to hear you talk about my game, which I get. So I try and keep it as balanced as possible. But yes, the squiggles definitely, I thought it was a mistake, but clearly the goal was, no, I can't. I mean, it makes sense. You can burn down the heart as our hero there much more readily than you can fight their phobies. So 100% makes sense. What doesn't make sense, I'm going to point this out here. Our hero here, drtybeanwatr with the ace avatar. I don't understand what's going on in this avatar. Why does it have Miss Frizzle glasses on? Shout out to my Magic School Bus fans. Also, I can't tell if Ace is like doing this like it's supposed to be Cyclops, or if it's doing the thinking man meme, or like it's Miss Frizzle and like, I got another idea, or like, I don't know what's happening. This avatar bothers me because it's so confusing. It kind of annoys me because it's so confusing. All right, we have an intra-stream showdown. drtybeanwatr with the Omega avatar, contrary to the Ace avatar that we were just commenting on, squaring off against Dino Nuggy. Haven't seen Dino Nuggy in a while. Oh, I take it back. Dino Nuggy is in fact. Wait, timeout. Did they submit the same game? Hold on. Okay, so we may have this game for both players submitted it because it's drtybeanwatr versus Dino Nuggy. The notes here, turn 13, I would have prompted for a bad side death, but he would have lived with a sliver of HP. Okay. And then and that was played on the 7th of July. And then Dino Nuggy submitted a game against drtybeanwatr, first game back since my break, on the 7th of July. So I don't know if this is the same game. We'll figure it out when we get that. Is that the first? I think it's the first. We've definitely had people submit games where it's like, okay, they're two different people. It's usually different games, or it's, you know, there's a time gap between, or I mean, obviously there's a time gap if they're different games, but like we're talking a gap of multiple days or something like that. So it may come up in the same stream, but I'm pretty sure this would be the first time that two different players submitted the same game. If this happened. Oh, no, nothing. Yeah. Don't quote that one? Okay. A little bad side manners. The Phobie with quite obviously the strongest grip strength in all of Phobies. In all of Phobie land. Wait, okay, so hold on. We were talking about this the other day. Yeah, bad side has spots. Is there, and so does Honey Bear, by the way, is there an undead in the game that does not have spots? I mean, they logically all should. They're undead. Unless it's like a very fresh corpse, I guess. Because like Gravedigger, spots. The reason this came up is we were looking at Primate number 9 the other day, because somebody put it on the board, and Primate has notably, like, much more obvious spots than most of the other undead. Like, the ones on bad side are there, but I think you could very easily miss them if you're not, like, actively looking for them. Even though they are kind of hidden in plain sight. It's not turn 13, so... Is this snowball going to get trapped? That'd be kind of funny. They're zombies, duh. Well, that's my point. They're corpses, and most of them are quite literally sewn together. Actually, now that I think about it, is there an undead Phobie that is a... Dude, the Speedolas... If we had a Speedola in every game... or set of Speedolas, I guess... Is there a single undead Phobie that is not? For the record, I think Dino Nuggy might have been better off, moving, like double moving the bad side, trapping the snowball just to kill it. 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I guess it can't really escape here, so maybe this is fine. Like, well, maybe. I don't know, we'll see. It depends on how aggressive Beanwater wants to be as far as pushing the repeller and Hevo up. But my question was going to be, is there a single undead in the game that is not a set of sewn together corpses? Like, where it's a singular body. I guess the skeletons? So yeah, like Jill and Ted probably are like that, right? Like, they're not sewn together. They are just a singular zombie. Not, See, like, this is a safe way, air quotes, for Beanwater to get the snowball out. I don't know if I love the ace, but we'll find out. Is Creep? Creep might be? We don't really know because of the bandages. Also, Creep, notably, I don't know if Creep has spots. Because, again, covered in bandages. Mummy, also another one that we probably won't know. Conductor. That's a dead Hevo. It does open up the Speedolas to getting clubbed to death by this ace. Which, by the way, is a level 1. Oh, this is all at level 1. Okay, so this might be why both players submitted the game. Daisy and Pterodactyl. Yeah, that's what I meant when I said the skeletons. So, like the jackalopes, because they just literally don't have skin. Although, Pterodactyl does have skin on its wings, so there's a verification that needs to happen there. Are there spots on the wings? Or the webbing for the wings? These are the important things we need to figure out in the Phobieverse. Otherwise, my movie will make no sense. The wings are sewn together if you look close enough. They are. That is true, Don Tickle. That is true. I just don't know offhand if they show, like, the modeled skin like you see on the other undead models. So we missed the potential conductor death, or excuse me, not the conductor death, the bad side death. Sorry, but I got really dizzy there for a second. I do want to point out, I think Ace looks pretty dope. Like, Ace looks sick. Boop. I think that was a wing and a prayer to try and push that onto the poison tile. So I guess this forces the Yeti to have to go onto the tile in order to freeze something. But Dino Nuggy's in a world of hurt here. I mean, they're down Phobies. They do have 6 keys, but you're not really in a position... Like, you kind of have to full retreat here. You can't really fight. The takedown on the red Speedola was pretty significant. Gravedigger goes down. All right, freeze. Going for the ace. All right. Yo, who wanted to see Conductor? Or not Conductor. This is Zamboni. Never mind. I got really excited for a second. And then I was like, oh, wait, that's not the phobia we were talking about. It's actually a totally different one. Although it is exciting to see Conductor. Or, I said Conductor again. See Zamboni. Notably, Fire Ant not going for the Thaw. Now, Ace does have a ton of HP, so, like... Alright, so we're going for the heal here. I don't want to pause it to check, but that might be a dead Zamboni. Dude, you didn't kill it? Oh, okay, there's another attack. Okay, I was gonna say, like, that's a lot of effort to not kill that thing. That would be, as they say, bad. Boop it into range. I presume, Luffy, that's supposed to be read as an onomatopoeia. The phobia that I always use most of the time on one of my accounts. Wait, you use Zamboni a lot? I think you're fibbing. Unless this is one of those, like, well, I use it the most on this account, but I don't actually play that account ever. Like, if it's one of those. Repeller's gotten a lot more spotlight now that his counterpart Attractor got nerfed. I mean, that's natural, but I think Repeller has been on somewhat of a surge for a while now. Also, I can't believe this Zamboni is still alive. Dude, it got 2 heals off. It also died in the process. I don't know if that heal was worth it. I'm not gonna lie. This game is kind of wild. Okay, so... You're gonna stand and fight, really? There must be a poison spit in the future. Oh, just a reposition, alright. This is a match that I would have loved to have permanent health bars up. Like, permanent health bars would have been really helpful here. Pop goes the bad side. Panic point advantage, positional advantage, phobia advantage. It's a tough spot to be in as Dino Nuggy, especially when you gotta puke on your own panic points. You don't love to see that. Bedside? I mean, that's not his name. Right? Yeah, it's Badside. I mean, the pun is supposed to be bedside. Down goes Yeti. I didn't love the Yeti. I didn't love the Yeti. Badside seems really close to being exactly snappy. Yeah, I mean, they're the same phobia, just at different costs. Couldn't they spit lower to deactivate orange? You mean to not deactivate orange? I don't think it really matters, but possibly. Also, Fire Ant just looks like a hairball right now. It kind of looked like a brain for a second. Snappy does have better HP, does it? I don't know offhand. Bedside was autocorrect, fair. GG, well played, Dirty. Well played, Beanwater. We'll see in a little while if Dino Nuggy also wanted this game. We will not redo it if that is the case. Somebody just remind me, because I'll forget. I'll remember that we need to check, but I won't remember the details. .30-turn game, Muso Mia, noobsim, our hero. If both MVPs are 3.0, you know it gets crazy. It's going to be a wild party. If only I can make multiple submissions for multiple matches. I mean, you can. There's literally nothing stopping you. It is possible. You can do it. You just have to want it bad enough. In all seriousness, like, that's not a joke. You can submit more than one game. People do it all the time. It's just, I will prioritize, and I guess I haven't said this in a while, but I prioritize, trying to get more unique people on each week. So, like, if you submit 10 games, I'm not going to do 10 of your games consecutively. But we'll do them over time. And if we ever have time and I can do extra games, we'll loop back to them. Oh, here's Creep. No spots on Creep, as far as we can tell, but it is kind of like wrapped in rags or whatever, so who knows. Fire Ant looks different when frozen. I thought it was a new phobia. I think about the same HP, like, just like almost 100 more damage on bad side for a whole key. It's tough because, I mean, 100 more damage is significant, right? Like, You hit way more breakpoints then with 100 more damage. It's also a matter of... So you can set up and design phobies with a formula. And I'm sure that's involved as part of, but not solely the entirety of the process the team uses to create new phobies, where it's, okay, for this amount of health, this type of phobie, like undead, dimensional, whatever, with these abilities, and then this new thing we're doing, or other thing, or whatever, all this stuff ends up equals cost, right? Or you could come from the other way. It's like, well, we need a 5 cost that's a 1 mover, and it's going to be undead, and then, like, you calculate out what the damage and stuff is. Speaking of which, here's Evo 3.0, one of the two. And the problem is sometimes the formula doesn't work for a variety of reasons. It usually gets weird around low-cost stuff just because you have to condense so much. So, like, a single key phobie is probably pound for pound one of the, like, arbitrary single key phobie is pound for pound one of the best phobies in the game. I haven't done the calculation in a while, so I don't remember. But, like, because you can't go so low that it's pointless, so then it ends up technically outscaling much higher cost phobies, if that makes sense. However, that same problem can happen at other costs in the curve because, hey, just the way these abilities play out, the impact of these things on the game, the combination then becomes greater than the sum of the parts. So, like, if you have a ranged phobie that flies and does this and does that, because of all those things together at a certain cost, it may just have to have way less damage or way less health because otherwise it's unreasonable. All of that just to lead up to our, apparently, a Blasto Gonzo match. Both players with double-digit keys remaining. Damage is good, but if it's for 5 keys compared to Snappy with 4 keys, people use Snappy over bad side. I don't think that's ever the comparison, to be honest. I think the comparison is always bad side to Hevo, and that's the problem. So you could go Snappy at 4, and then do, like, Hevo at 5, and then cover more rolls, but you may not be able to do the reverse. Like, what are you going to do, Unbearable, and then bad side? Like, that doesn't work the same way. Now, if there was a reasonable 2-move, 4-cost lobber that people could rely on, then maybe. All right, so we're getting erratic... Okay, we're going to get the boot. We saw this last night, and I had the same double take reaction of, like, you're not really going to leave. It was with whoever had Dozer on this map. Which, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the Monster of the Week video. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be out tomorrow. The day after this one releases. Not like you're watching this 2 years from now. It's probably already out. It's probably already revealed. Hashtag just saying. Also, I rambled through the commercial. I know people weren't. Oh, no! Wait. Oh, it's down. No! I thought they were going to get the play. They were going to get the play where you drop the... You get the old school range extender. You drop the block in front of this, and then you can hit it twice, and... We are going to get a little chain damage here. Ray getting clobbered. Going... Just walking right into the lion's den there. Cutting down the Ray. Significant damage everywhere else. The counter Cupcake is in position. But this is a lot of HP to chew through. You're going to get the Gravedigger. You're going to get... Ooh, the bomb. You'll love to see it. Feels good, man. Unless you're noobsim here, in which case probably felt terrible. Yo, this Molotov cocktail party is getting sloppy. You got to cut some people off here because this is a mess right now. This is a disaster, and this is looking like the movie The Hangover. Like what their hotel room looked like. By the way, our hero didn't really come out great on this exchange. Does this die? Oh, alright, okay. That's not terrible, but they still have a Hevo and 1 key. Is this enough? Why do people continue to go Temptress? I don't know. I don't get that. Because, like, this is cute. Alright, Hevo dead. I'm not gonna lie. It doesn't look great for our hero here. On paper, bad guy should be at a big advantage here. They have a panic point advantage, meaning our hero has to commit into them. So they can kind of kite this. I mean, it's 2 1-movers. Admittedly, one of them's Gonzo, so it can contribute otherwise. Tempter says that's snake hypnotism to get people to play her. Fair. Dude, our hero getting cooked here. Hero's getting cooked here. Bad guys zoned themselves, though. Like, so we're going to get the boop, move in. You can get 1 bite, which is relevant. But bad guys zone themselves into a choke point, so now the Hydra just completely blocks them out. They have to engage the Hydra, or they can't get away. Or get past, for that matter. This was a weird one, because, like, this really seemed like bad guy was in control, and they just kind of... I don't know if it was a throw. Maybe they just weren't as ahead as I thought. I mean, now they're cooked. Like, they can't do anything. I would just, like, park the Hydra on the panic point. What are they going to do? Get some Molotov cocktail and snake. Yes. Little snake stew. I'm going to wreck us some reptiles. Shout out to Roadblock. Down goes the cocktail vending machine. That would be a terrible thing, wouldn't it? That would actually be horrible on so many levels. A cocktail vending machine. GG. Well played. It would appear that a lot of people like the Omega avatar. Personally, I think the Vendy one is better, but Vendy's one of the best Phobies. Full stop. Olover, our hero, the lover of O's. Cheerios, maybe? SpaghettiOs, possibly? I was trying to think of a third one, I couldn't. Very good endgame by me, but most of the start and middle was just me worrying about Akira. I wonder if Akira actually shows up, or they were just sweating the Akira. Akira also notably fell off the face of the earth. This was something else Karst and I were talking about, and only briefly, but there is a... It's not just an actual Phobie nerf when a Phobie gets nerfed. It's not, or rather, it's not just the nerf. There's a psychological strike when something gets nerfed, and people just... I will give a shout out to Bad Guy, Lord Shinra here. We're aggressively taking the top panic point. When we'll be able to have Vendy as a Phobie. I kind of like that you can't have Vendy as a Phobie. I kind of like that you can't. Radiator, you love to see it. I feel like this is a good home for Radiator. But yeah, there's a psychological hit when a phobie gets nerfed. And people just don't play it. Even if it's still good. Beauty is like that. Like, Beauty, it's not that Beauty never gets played, but Beauty, I think, is used way less than it could be used. Akira is probably in the same boat, to be honest. I think Akira is probably still better than people give it credit for, but it's kind of dropped off the face of the earth at this stage. Admittedly, I wonder if that's part of people just don't want to use it. You know what I mean? Like, they just aren't happy about it. Dude, I love Radiator. He's just hilarious to me. I can't help but think of the brave little toaster every time I see him, though. He reminds me of the asthmatic air conditioning unit. I don't know if it was asthmatic. I think he just got super angry. I just remember him choking. It's been a while since I've seen the movie. It's been a bit. Some early positioning wars. Panic point advantage initially goes to a bad guy. 10 keys in the bank. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so there is actually an Akira. Beauty isn't a beauty anymore. I mean, what's it ever? Beauty was the original terror of Phobies. And then it didn't take that long for it to get nerfed, truthfully. Game launched in March. I think it got nerfed in June or July. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Quite literally in this stage. We get a little Frosty. Cheerio, man. Why are you worried about Akira? Like, you're just going to freeze everybody. I feel like if we had this, just like we had that game earlier, where I said, hey, both players submitted, or I think both players submitted, it would be funny to hear from Shinra about this game, because as much as our hero said that they were sweating about the Akira, that's over there, I wonder how much bad guy was sweating about the Frosty that's hanging out up there. Because, like, we talked about this the other night. If you asked me a few months ago, actually, it's probably more than a few months ago now. It's like going back to November of last year. So it's a long time. I guess it would technically qualify as a few months, but that feels a little bit stretching it. I would have said that Fire Ant is the most underrated, overpowered phobie in the game. I think and obviously it depends on which segment of the population you would poll for this, but I don't think enough people respect the power level and the influence the Fire Ant can have on a game. However, I think Frosty has eclipsed that at this stage, and we talked about it last night during Monster of the Week, that Frosty is just incredibly powerful, and it's an ultra rare that was in one of the exclusive packs, exclusive releases, so most people don't have it, and of the people that have it, very few have it at a level that's really viable, because even though it's very powerful, it's like, okay, well, if this thing's level 3 and everything else is level 17, even with its ability, it's still tough. So my point is, I think that not enough people have Frosty in a position to utilize it to demonstrate just how bonkers Frosty is. Because I feel as though Frosty is bonkers, and just people aren't using it for reasons, whatever that might be. I pulled him day 1, first ultra rare. Did you really? That's actually pretty sick. That's pretty sick. I personally do not have a Frosty. So this is why I can't wear lighter colored shirts, chat. Like right here, it looks like there's like a divot in my beard, but there's not. Just because of the way like the shadows are, or are not. Pulled a werewolf in the next pack. Used both all the way to Sum of All Fears. Nice. I mean, those are pretty solid. Those are pretty solid ultra rares. It'll be interesting to see if Frosty really is as powerful as I think it is, or if people are going to feel that way. All right, we're getting the great positioning war here. The question is our hero going to be able to make something happen before the Akira pull or after? Obviously, the boss is the counter to the freeze ray. Let's see. Didn't even realize they were rare till like a month in. Thought everyone got all the phobies within a couple of months. Yeah. If only. If only. I've said it before, and Karst and I want to do an episode on this, just to like kind of explain it to people, because I think there's a lot of people who don't realize this. But the biggest problem with phobies is the economy. And I don't think people understand exactly how dramatically it impacts things. So this is our chicken or the egg answer. It is in fact the Akira pull. And does lead to the Gonzo boss play. Another one that was a terror for a very long time, which Karst pointed out, to their credit, that like this was what kind of jump-started the conversation of, this is a good freeze. That's a great freeze! A 4? That's solid. I don't know that Shinra missed this. It kind of feels like, yeah, you do it anyway, but like, oof. This is not a position you want to be in. This is not a position you want to be in. Oof. But yeah, which jump-started the conversation about people dropping phobies off the face of the earth once something gets nerfed, was Karst had brought up that like nobody uses Boss Gonzo, even though it still seems very viable. Boss Gonzo still seems fine, but you almost never see it. Also, by the way, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4. It was 5-to-1 panic point advantage. A lot of pressure on our hero's heart, you can tell here, but not quite enough, it would appear. Klepto going ham. Is Minotaur the answer here? Seemingly not. I understand the thaw going for the boss first, because obviously it could potentially thaw other things, but and you already had the snowball on the board, so it's not like, oh, you spend 3 keys on snowball for sure. There aren't any other fire phobies you could have gotten for that key cost. So everybody's thawed now, but they're coming back into the end of the Ice Age, and everybody's angry. Down goes Ray. Minotaur's probably not long for this world. Gonzo certainly isn't. We don't have a hippopotamus phobia, do we, chat? You want to talk about things that could be made into horror monsters? The hippopotamus should be on like the top of everyone's list. That'll do it. GG. Very well played. Positioning battle was very interesting. Definitely very interesting. Hold please, chat. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, the positioning battle was definitely very interesting, dodging everything. I don't know. We'd have to go back and look at it more closely to see if there was, like, if Shinra could have avoided doing the Akira pull that they did, because I think ultimately that's what led to, obviously led to our hero's victory there, is allowing for the positional setup to get the freeze, turn off most of their team, get some takedowns and damage going in. You already had the Gonzo to allow for extra damage. A lot of factors coming into play there. All right, Shadowborn, our hero here, notably participating in Monster of the Week as well. I don't think this game is from Monster of the Week. No, it's definitely not. If you're interested in Phobies tournaments where you can get coffee for just playing, hit up the Random Thoughts Discord link in the description. We run them every week. The notes here: a wild game. When he brought the Phantom and Zappy, I was sure I was cooked. If I had played defensively, I would have lost. Also, the opponent level was higher. Phobies is a game that I think at a base level invites turtling play, but it punishes it. Like, you really need to be more aggressive and seize opportunities than most people are. It invites the turtle play because it is so natural. And people do this in lots of games. Especially turn-based games like strategy or tactics games where it's like, I'm going to turtle up. And I remember doing this. Like, when I first started playing RTSs and I was playing against the computer. I mean, aside from the fact that the computer literally cheats in old RTSs. Like, and we're not talking about, oh, it can do more than a human can, which it absolutely can because it can just micro better. It also cheats. Like, it would be able to get units that it shouldn't have been able to get because it didn't have enough resources, kind of thing. But what it kind of taught you to do was, oh, you have to defend first, attack later. Because you will be overwhelmed by the computer's initial assaults otherwise. Because it cheats, it sees through fog of war, so it knows where you are. It knows, like, if you move your army out, it knows where your army is. And it also can cheat by getting units at a discount, for lack of a better way to put it. But you can beat it. And the point is that it kind of reinforces the idea, okay, defend first, don't die, then eventually I will mass up with my Voltron army and win, because I push out, and at this point the computer, the computer isn't programmed to function at that level, so eventually you just push out and wipe them out. And I think Phobies functions in a similar way, where most people, when they start the game, it's like, well, I don't want to lose my Phobies, so I trade 1 keys, or I just hang back, and then eventually I build my super team. I think Karst put it as the Justice League. Like, you form the Justice League, and then you wipe everyone out in front of you. Which it feels like you should be... What is the name of the bad guy Justice League from one of the... Isn't it like the Justice Lords? Or something like that? But anyway, the point is that I think it's natural in Phobies to turtle. But you really don't want to. You need to be aggressive and pushing your opponent into mistakes by giving them dilemmas or by just taking what they give you. Hey, they hang something, snipe it, that sort of thing. And yes, sometimes it will be a trap. But people make way more mistakes in Phobies that are not capitalized on than they are setting up traps. And I think a lot of people will make a mistake and then win anyway because of reasons, and then claim, oh, I set a trap there. And it's like, no, you didn't. You just got lucky. Speaking of playing defensively, pulling everything back here. Maintaining the panic point advantage, though, which is good 3-2. These are the kind of games that everybody hates. Like, stop trading 1 keys, do something. However, given that bad guy did slam a Phantom, you have to respect it. Now, there's 7 Phobies on the board, though, so you don't really have to respect it right now. And that's what Shadowborn is capitalizing on. And given the Phantom nerf, like, this is 1, 2, 3. Okay, the Phantom would have to be where Tickles is in order to pull something off of the vault in the old world. Now, I mean, something could move out, but if it does, it's only going 1 space in front of Phantom, so we'll see what... Are they going to do it? Probably not. At least not at this stage. But the Zappy is a threat, given the Motherlode just slammed onto the board. Once again maxed out. Are you not going to take the center? Huh. So interestingly enough, our hero chose not to send the cowbell in. There are a few different reasons why you'd want to. One, flip the panic points, duh. But it also frees up the spot, so those 11 keys you're sitting on are actually available. Instead, we're going to go big ol' more bees. I mean, this is a dead Klepto. And to be honest, this kind of is a dead bad guy, like right here on the spot. I mean, yes, you could dump the Zappy in there, but I don't know if I love that Motherlode positioning, though. So I don't love the Motherlode positioning because it is in range of the jar. Doesn't look like bad guy gives a shit, though. They're going for everything but. What are they doing with this Phantom? Maybe there wasn't enough damage between the jar and the Zappy to kill the Motherlode. But you can't do this. Oh, no. Why would you do this? Why would you do this? Dude, this is too little, too late. Pterodactyl even coming in for the taunt, I guess. Get the Clinico, you're going to get the Motherlode, which I guess is something, but you're going to lose both of the... This is... I don't know. I was trying to think of an analogy, and the first thing that came to mind was like, you know, you're hammering something in, whatever. You're trying to hang a picture, you're hammering a nail into the wall, or you're nailing 2 boards together. This would be like, instead of aiming for the hammer, just straight up aiming for your thumb and going BLAM! And just exploding your thumb. It's like, why? Why would you do that? Real talk, who's better now? Newly buffed Fleshcrawler or Motherlode? Motherlode. I will take Motherlode until proven otherwise, kind of thing. Just because I think range is that much of an advantage. Honestly, the buff doesn't give a lot. I think the buff is significant. In conjunction with the previous buffs. Like, Motherlode has 2,300, or Fleshcrawler has 2,300 health. That's literally the same amount as Motherlode. Its ability does more damage, and it does more damage. And here's the thing. More HP is valuable to an undead because of the life leech. Like, it does enough damage that it can reasonably life leech to sustain itself, especially with tentacles. Whatever the Raising Hell. I couldn't think of the name. When you Raising Hell, if you hit multiple targets... Like, we've seen this a lot with Mildred. Now, don't get me wrong, Mildred does way more damage. But we've seen tons of times where somebody jumps a Mildred, almost kills it, or diseases it, and it, like, bleeds out really low. And then it goes in, it gets one hit, and bang, it's back to full health. Or pretty close. And it's like, the Mildred is effectively immortal. I'm not saying Flesh Crawler is at that level of damage. But it can sustain, hypothetically sustain through a lot if it gets multi-hits with Raising Hell. Like, I don't think it's something to ignore. However, I think that the part of the wins right now, because I see people saying they're winning with Flesh Crawler, I think part of the reason that people win with Flesh Crawler a lot, especially right now, is people are not used to dealing with it. And I said this as much multiple times when I did the patch breakdown, talked about it with Karst. I think I said it last night too, and I'll say it again now. I think pretty much every single, and there's a few notable exceptions, but not that many. And excluding all the 1 keys, we're not talking about them. Almost every single melee phobie in the game could get plus 100, like 100 extra health and 100 extra damage. And I think it would A, be healthy, and B, for some of them, you wouldn't even notice. Like, it wouldn't matter. They still suck. But I think that clearly as part of the formula for creating phobies, melee is either getting too large of a penalty or ranged is not getting enough of a penalty. Because, like, there's a cost for having the ability, air quotes, of range. And we see it in things like Stairmaster, where Stairmaster is just wet toilet paper. But we don't see that consistently applied across the board. And I'm not saying that every range phobie needs to be wet tissues. And, like, you look at it funny and they collapse. But I do think that you need to buff all of these crappy melee phobies so that they should be better. It can be dangerous. I see chat pointing out about Alligator. Like, Alligator hypothetically, or Quagmire for that matter, could hypothetically be an issue. Simply because, what if these things are unkillable at that point? That would be a problem. I don't know if I'd have a problem with that meta initially. Like, let it happen at this point. I think those things can be pushed a little bit. Almost every melee phobie could just get a straight up buff and it would not be a problem. And I think the reason I bring this up is because Flesh Crawler and old Bluelian, who's recently just got nerfed, we're at the levels of what I think phobies need to be. Melee phobies. If more melee phobies were at those levels, I think we would be better off. But we're not there yet, so we'll see. Either way, GG there, Shadow. All right, we are almost up to what's potentially a duplicate game. We'll check that out in a minute. But before that, we got a Jeremy game. Welcome back, Jeremy. Sporting the Vendy avatar. Finally, a Toys in the Attic Heart Rush strat that works versus good players. But only once. I don't know if that counts as a really viable strategy, then. That seems not good. Just saying. We'll see. I'll be the judge of that. CC would become better? Oh, in the alligator scenario? Sort of. The problem is that CC in general is always very powerful, right? And the CC we have, I mean, we have Rusty and Dozer, but those don't really count. I guess you could count Dial and Trivolta and Collector, but eh. And then it's like Freeze. And most of the fire phobies are generally strong anyway, so I'm like hesitant to go crazy with it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a weird spot. Imagine a phobia that leeches 100% of health with the ability of Alligator and Quagmire. I'm telling you right now that phobia would be bad. Not because the combination of abilities would be bad, but because it would probably have to have, like, 75 damage. Or it would have to have only 200 health or something like that, where... And I'm exaggerating, but it would have... Hey, beauty! Speaking of beauty, it would have to be at those levels because otherwise that would actually be ridiculous. Like, imagine Alistar with a innate healing. Oh, hydrate action. And the reason I say the phobia would be bad is because if you added that to an Alistar now, it wouldn't really do anything, right? Like, you're either killing Alistar in one turn or you're never killing it. Shove Shark Inoculus. Name a more iconic duo. Boss Gonzo. Akira and Abyss Styles. Like, if you just tack that onto Alistar, it probably wouldn't do much because, again, your opponent either kills the Alistar in one volley or they're never killing it because it's just going to heal up. I don't even know that I've seen a game where Alistar, like, runs around the map and then pokes to try and eventually get its health back up or something. The only time I've seen anything close to that happen is it goes all the way back to a healing spa, which I guess is kind of close to the regeneration ability. But that's few and far between. It's usually once the Alistar goes in, it can kind of just go in forever. Now that I think about it, I think we haven't gotten a fire undead phobia yet. I believe that's accurate. That could just be a thematic thing. Like, we may never see a fire undead phobia. I'd like to see more freeze undead phobies. Get the oopsie power down on the old beauty. Notably, we got the Shove Shark Blondie combo. Blondie also recently buffed. That one was a little weird. We'll see if our hero here is better utilize Blom for a minimal amount of damage, only 200. We'll see if our hero here has better utilization of the Blondie and more importantly, the post-Blondie ability follow-up. Gargles. That seems sus. I question that one. Erratic coming out, supplementing the team. Where is the Gargles intended to go? Screech! Only 2 power down here. We're only hitting 2 phobies to power down, is what I mean. 0 fear of the poison tile. You love to see it. Poison tiles are kind of mediocre. We did talk about this, about how this map does kind of, like, locker room funk, air quotes, forces you into using mechs. And because of the healing spa positioning, it's difficult to heal, which I think is good. I didn't bring that up when we were discussing it, but I do think it's better that it is a pain in the butt to heal. You don't want it to be trivial to heal. Like to heal off poison. But I like seeing when players just show no respect for the poison tiles. By the way, this Blondie did, like, nothing. It did soak a bunch of hits and stuff there, so I guess it took a turn away. By the way, this is going to be a sick Blom from Beauty. Dude, did Jeremy set this up this way? Like, was this a... Wait, what? Okay, never mind. We're not going for it. We're just putting Beauty on the... Oh, no! Dude! The hell with the Blom? Dude, this is sick. This is a sick play. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. They get wrecked, nerd. Sorry, Cisco. You got wrecked, nerd. Locked out by the Gargles. Galaxy Brain, 750 IQ play. 7 million IQ play. Imagine an undead fridge phobia that could be the first freeze undead phobia. It would be the second. Yeah, and Beauty's just going to go ham now. Almost 1,000 damage off of that stim. Oh, by the way, bow can also hit. I mean, the bow's going to die here, but who cares? Bye-bye, bow. Speaking of bow, we might have some clown action tomorrow, because the other games I was thinking about streaming for variety, I think the betas are ending. Bad guys making an effort, but that's the ball game, as one would say. That'd be the game. GG. Got him. About to destroy his whole career. True. True. Alright, we're about to find out if this was a dupe game. Pseudo-dupe game, since this would be the first time that both players on either side of a game submitted it. Nope, this is not the same game. They just played twice on the same day. Dino Nuggy, our hero this time, and drtybeanwatr, our bad guy. Musomia is the map. We did watch these players earlier, but it was a different game, just happened to be submitted by the other person. It was a weird coincidence. First game back since my break, so we'll see how Dino does here. Obviously, we know the result at this point of the other game. Didn't work out so well for Dino in that one. Trading droney openers here. Fair. I don't hate this. I don't love it, but I guess it's not awful. I'm trying to think what I'm going to do as player 2 on this map. I'm not really sure. Yo, the Charon. You love to see it. Gravedigger coming out. I don't want to say late, but... Alright, so what is Bean planning here, given the positioning of the Shove Shark? It's clearly going to boop something forward. It's a question of what. Some pretty aggressive panic point collecting by our hero here. Woolly Bully follow-up is definitely abnormal. Tooth Fairy getting some spotlight recently. I wouldn't say recently. Tooth Fairy, since its introduction, has really been... it's really been prevalent. And in fact, I would go so far as to say most people prefer it to Murder Wing at this stage. I think the consistent damage output really drew a lot of players to it. And I'm talking mostly from Monster of the Week. I mean, we definitely see it in viewer games as well, but Monster of the Week, when we're talking level 1s, and we don't have to worry about people getting it to specific levels and that sort of thing, I think we do see a lot more Tooth Fairy. The Carrion Phobie would be so cool, and not this one, the one that's like dead meat and has multiple eyes and mouths, just like a bowl of meat. So you're talking like the Thing. The extra health feels huge too. Yeah, to a degree. I mean, I've always felt that Dimensionals were the best phobie type because, yeah, your opponent can play around the pole, but that's just extra things they have to deal with. Additionally, and the whole, oh, this is the challenge play setup just never seems to come up. Not never, but rarely. It's usually on, like, Bachelor, which it feels as though a number of people invite themselves to get blown out by a Bachelor weird play. But then there's... Aside from the challenge plays, there just doesn't seem to be a significant penalty on most Dimensionals, at least of the playable ones, as far as stats goes. So you end up with, hey, this is a pretty solid phobie, and it does extra damage, and it could blow my opponent out with positioning, so why not? Yeah, like the reverse horror game one Carrion. I wanted to play that game, I never did. I watched a lot of it. Well, not a lot of it, but it definitely seemed like a game that I think I would enjoy playing for a little bit, and then it would get tedious because I'm just not a fan of Metroidvanias. Like, I actually started playing Blasphemous the other day. I know that game's not new, and I've been meaning to for years, but it was on sale, so I got it. I started playing it, and, like, I'm already getting annoyed about the backtracking. Like, it just bothers me. It also bothers me, like, the platforming elements. I'm not a platformer person, having played the original platformers back on NES and in television. I just don't enjoy them because it's a pain in the ass to, like... Okay, I died in this section a lot because of a tough enemy or something, right? I'm talking not specifically about Blasphemous, but just in general. It's like, okay, this next section is hard. I keep dying. But you have to, because of the way the checkpoints work, you have to go through a whole bunch of stuff. And usually it's somewhat trivial. So I go through it, and it's like, 8 out of 10 times it's perfectly fine. But then it's like, oh, well, the game just decided that it's 1 pixel off, which obviously it would be. And obviously I made a mistake as the player. But it is so meaningless visually that, like, I can't even discern why, oh, you fell in the pit this time, but not that time. And it just annoys the hell out of me. it's like, you're just wasting my time at this point. That's what it feels like. Tooth Fairy takes a whole extra hit to kill versus Murder Wing. Yeah. I'd have to go back and look at the numbers. Depends on a hit from what, I guess. Because the thing is, like, extra health only matters if you suddenly hit a new breakpoint. That's the big thing, is, like... That's why some of these buffs, or nerfs for that matter, don't always make a ton of sense. Because it's like, but why does this get 25 extra damage? Why did this lose 20 health or whatever? You know, like because if it's not now making a comparable cost phobie. So Murder Wing and Snowball and Cassowary, and I think Eternal Night too, were all obviously intended to one-shot jar, right? They all can do it on level. And then creep with Gravedigger. These sort of relationships exist across a ton of phobies. If those sort of relationships don't get created or removed when a phobie is buffed or nerfed, what is the point? There may be more complex ones where it's, hey, I'm not killing something. No, it's not as simple as just Murder Wing one-shots jar. It's now, oh, well, this thing has to combine with this other thing, or it takes 2 hits or whatever, and then it ends up killing whatever the target thing is. But a lot of these have really obscure relationships like that I can't quite figure out when some of these buffs happen. And it just doesn't make any sense then. We can get a Dimensional Razormouth or an undead version of it. Yeah, we did. Contortio and Bacula. What are you talking about? Contortio, Bacula, Razormouth, and Cowbell are obviously the original 4, and they are like, they represent the different things of what their type of phobia is supposed to be. So like Cowbell has more health, but has slightly less damage. Razormouth is just like the baseline. Contortio does more damage, but has less health. Bacula has less health and less damage, but it's also a dimensional, providing the displacement effect. The carrying kind of propels itself, but I get the backtracking. Yeah, like the whole Metroidvania, like that style of game, I just don't think I like it. Also, another Yeti. I know people love Yeti, but I feel like Yeti is almost never the answer. By the way, Dino Nuggy won this a turn or two ago. Yes, you get the what's it called up here, the pterodactyl, but the problem with going for the pterodactyl and burning that down is it allowed, like, the Yeti to get up here. I mean, using him as model specifically. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess Bad Omen could have been undead instead of being a monster. I don't expect that they're going to do, like, every phobie that gets a recolor or something will eventually be You know, like every type will have a razor mouth. Every type will have a Miss Moffat. Every type will have a snowball. You know, I'm not expecting that to be true. I wonder if bad guy can race here. Probably not, right? And by race, I mean, like, heart race. It's 2-1, so there shouldn't be a way for bad guy to do that. Yeah, I think Dino's taking the correct line here. Just go for the heart. Way too many panic points. Like, you just can't stop it. You don't have the bodies. It is possible that Dino can never kill this Quagmire fighting it, but it doesn't matter at this point. Undead Snowball would be pretty cool, though. Zombie dog. I think that'll happen eventually. Like, there will be an undead dog, but I don't know that it'll necessarily be the Snowball model. What I wouldn't be surprised is if they reuse the werewolf model, like the hulked out werewolf model, and use that as a phobie in the future. You know what I mean? Maybe not literally that and just recolor it, but do like Skinwalker and Yeti, where it's clearly this is the base sort of thing. I think that would be kind of cool. But GG, Dino Nuggy. Welcome back. Even though we were kind of rambling throughout that game as well. Like I said earlier, I do feel bad sometimes when people, like, I'm looking at their games, and then we're just talking about random shit instead of the game. Alright, we'll do one more game chat, and then I gotta take a break. I'm not roasting like I have been the last few times. Alright, we got Great Ginger Gabe. Dimensional Tentacles versus Undead Tentacles. Thanks as always. No, thank you, Gabe. Shout out to everybody who submits viewer games. Wouldn't be doing this without you, quite obviously. Jaws, what is the undead dog? I guess Jaws, yeah, Jaws counts, I think. Jaws is an honorary good boy. Even though he's quite obviously supposed to be part of the shark family. I wanted to do that as like a t-shirt. That it would be a silhouette of Finnegan Shove Shark, Jaws, Slammerhead, like that sort of thing, and be like, if not friend, then why shark shaped? Werewolf with a big model, 9-cost, super healing, bigger alligator. Honestly, I think that phobia would be terrible. That isn't to say it wouldn't get created, but like, Quagmire gets played way more than alligator, generally. And the reason is the cost efficiency. Like, you'd rather have... for most intents and purposes, you're getting everything you need out of Quagmire that you would want out of alligator, and you're doing it for 2 keys less. So, why would you want to pay 2 keys more than the thing that you're already not using? Cerberus, who's a good boy? And who else is a good boy? Yep. And Cerberus has been getting a lot of love, even pre Shove Shark. But post Shove Shark and post Phantom, Cerberus stonks up. Stonks going up. Sparky. Because reasons. I guess it one-shots the Attractor, as we found out the other night. Which for some reason I forgot about. I kept thinking that Sparky was 350, not 400. Because we have all the dogs, I'm just going to play dog comps this season. We could always use more good boys. Bluelin! Didn't you hear that guy was nerfed? It's unplayable. Can't play that guy. Also, when was this map in rotation? When was this played? Did this just rotate back in? It must have, because this was played on the 11th. Daisy. Yeah, so we were... Blulian with werewolf feels good? True. So we were arguing... Not arguing, we were discussing the other night about Benny. I'm not super optimistic about Benny. I have hope. I hope Benny's good, because I don't want to see bad phobies. I just don't know how difficult it's going to be to actually clear out the turret. Because generally, resurrect stuff is trivial. And Karst brought up the point, what if you just droney... Like, allow them to droney the Benny, and then you can slam Daisy, and it's just... You feel way more comfortable because they don't have access to droney. Like, what are they going to do? Kill Daisy and then send in Morty? Like, that's insane. Arguably, they sizzle. Alright, we already know bad guy loses now. The old ear hair snake himself. Also, Sizzle has spots. And this one spot makes it look like he has an eye. Because I'm pretty sure the baby snaky model does not have eyes. Benny is good, but his HP is mostly the problem. Well, I mean, yes, that would be exactly the problem. Which would make him bad. Like, if the HP is a problem, Benny is bad. Still haven't seen a Whiskers game? You probably won't. That phobia is terrible. Also an HP problem. I honest to God, do not see a scenario where you would use Whiskers over a 1 key. Sizzle feels underrated. His dimensional damage is massive. I think Sizzle is overrated. I honestly think Sizzle is terrible. Because he's melee. And I'm not saying, oh, well, just make him range, problem solved. Also, bad guy is just kind of like throwing phobies away. Like, why did this droney go over here? Like, it's just dead. And you're getting, like, 1 turn of extra panic point damage, assuming our hero didn't do this. Like, they didn't even need to do this. Like, I don't think Gabe had to do this, but... So, yeah, I don't like Sizzle because it's melee. Like, that's what it boils down to. If you're not trying to counter a freeze phobia like Frosty, you're almost always going to be better off with... I mean, like, literally just Jin Sting. Best value defroster? I disagree. Even in that, it's not even the best. Snowball's better. Most of the time, you're not going to get multi-frozen. Like, if you get multi-frozen, okay, sure, it can do stuff, but even then, you'd still rather have boss or something like that. And yes, it's cheaper, but you're getting it... As compared to the earlier comparisons where it was, oh, well, I could get the same thing, but cheaper, or I'm getting most of it. You're getting way more by having boss or whatever on the board, and you can defrost. Not just, I'm paying 4 keys to defrost something. Like, that doesn't feel good. Wait, you pulled it... Time out. Hold on. So you Akira pull. You have your electrical staring straight across from a mech. Don't hit the mech. I mean, of all the decisions you could make, that's in fact one of them. Because I have a biased POV with having Frosty on the field all the time, always getting multi-freezes. But even if you do, like, say you get multi-frozen, like, you use Frosty, you hit me, you multi-freeze my guys. My answer is Sizzle? If I'm the Frosty player, I'd be ecstatic. Because it's like, that guy sucks. Tentacle! Tentacles! I don't know what... Like, is Flesh Crawler supposed to be the thing? I honest to God don't know what Flesh Crawler's supposed to be. Bees! That was your chance to kill the Hevo. Yeah, like, they could have killed the Hevo. Technically, I guess Blulian is a little more threatening. It has the heal. It is more damage. I mean, maybe the Hevo is way higher level or something, but I don't know. I don't know. There were decisions made. And like I said, of all the decisions that could have been made, that was one of them. I feel like Flesh Crawler, when it does that, like, weird flailing animation in its idle, I feel like it's referencing something, but I don't know what it is. But the tentacles combination with its model makes me feel like it's supposed to be the thing. Wait, what? I mean, I don't know what bad guy's supposed to do in this scenario, but it doesn't matter. I think it's a demon. Now, because we have boss, we know what a demon would look like in Phobie World. Flesh Crawler putting some tentacles in that. Yeah, I mean, like, it's just such a weird phobie that I wonder if it's just, hey, here's a weird, cool-looking thing that we have, and it's not supposed to be a reference to anything, or it isn't supposed to be anything in particular. The reason I even bring it up is, like, why does it have tentacles? Like, why does Flesh Crawler have that ability? It obviously has bones, based on the way it's structured. Like, it seems to have a rib cage. It seems to have, you know, like, it has hands and arms or legs or whatever you want to call it. But it attacks with its tongue, and, like, its tongue has thorns. There's so many things here. There's so many things going on. Maybe it doesn't have bones. Maybe it's all just muscle. It's twitching rapidly, kind of reminds me of old demons in, like, 1980s films. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Hilariously, Kerbloom is body blocking for Innocuous. Maybe just the most hellish thing they could think of. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. That's what I was saying. It could just be like, hey, when they were designing, especially because Flesh Crawlers in the initial batch, they might have just been like, hey, throw stuff on the wall. Like, just... I love that that was the way to kill it. You Kerbloomed it off the edge. That's pretty sick. You love those. GG. But yeah, they might have just told the artists, like, you know what? Go nuts. And this might have been a art-first design of, okay, we have this guy, and we have, like... And when they did the concept art, they're like, oh yeah, and this thing's going to shoot tentacles into the ground. And everybody's like, it does what? Like, all right, go with it. By the way, notably, Undead also has spots. Also an Undead that isn't stitched together. Answering the questions of the Phobie world, one at a time. All right, so I think that was our 9th game, chat, but I'm going to put one on. I'm going to take a quick break. I want to get some more water, stretch my legs, and then we'll be back to look at some more viewer games. Don't go away. All right. I didn't realize that I clicked out of it. Make it no sound. One of the changes that I asked the devs about, I keep asking them about, like, there should be an option to allow Phobies to still play sound when you're, when it's not the active window. It is what it is. Imagine playing Phantom just to make Numbskull plays every game would be fun to get. Wait, what? I just pulled the bad Phantom Heartbreaker. We've talked about this before, and I usually argue with Karst about this. Like, I think Heartbreaker's fine. I think people don't understand how many people are bad at this game. And, like, Heartbreaker is arguably oppressive. Now, you could argue Heartbreaker's not good. Like, it's not a healthy design because of what it potentially does to the game. And I could get behind that, but I think from a power level perspective, Heartbreaker is fine. And I think people just don't accept that, like, oh no, it doesn't perform well at Sum of All Fears 3. Well, I would love to balance the game around Sum of All Fears 3, but personally, I think it's somewhat pointless too. Because we're talking about, like, 30 players in a game of tens of thousands. The correct thing is to balance around the best players in the game, but the vast majority of players will never even remotely approach that level, so it doesn't matter. That's the way I look at it. This one. Who needs Puff or Alistor when you have Sabian? And then Potenzi has, like, 3 other games submitted that are also Sabian related. So, Potenzi 2, our hero here. Smiley casually making boss's life miserable. Does it even matter? People used to do that before, like before boss got nerfed. And I mean, yes, the nerf technically makes Smiley a little better. I know that sounds weird, but like if you're not pushing out as much damage, that means the boss has to be there longer. So therefore, Smiley has more turns to tick. But I don't think that's really like you can just power through the Smiley. I'm one of those bad people though for 8 keys. Oh, the about Heartbreaker. Like, I think Heartbreaker is playable at below those levels. Below Sum of All Fear 3 level. Probably below, like, yeah, probably just below Sum of All Fears 3. I think it's playable perfectly fine through all those levels. I think just... And when I say that, another way to look at it would be, like, 99% of the Phobies playing population, these Phobies that we're talking about are fine. Or the ones that we think are bad, like, they're bad, but not necessarily bad. Like, just, they're generally not as good at high-level games, like Cerberus, are downright oppressive at those levels. And it's tough to design the game around all of that. It's easier in a game, say, like StarCraft, where it's the community inherently in StarCraft, another deterministic game, that they'll tell you, like, look, no, you suck, just get better. Like, if you can't win, you can't beat this, here's how you get better. Like, here's how you can beat it. But the issue is not the balance, it's you. And I think something different is true for Phobies most of the time. It's people will complain about the Phobies and want things buffed or nerfed. And admittedly, it's a mobile game also, so there's a different, there's Sabian. It creates a different community, a different expectation for these sort of things, which, like, that's fine. It cuts both ways, though. Like, there are things that, yeah, you could buff them, but I'm still unclear on what the team's overarching philosophy is when it comes to balance. Like, yes, nobody wants imbalanced things, but, like, imbalanced in what way? At what level? What defines an imbalanced phobie? We don't have a clear understanding of what that is. And even if we did, we don't have access as the players to the numbers that the devs do. So we're always, like, everything's going to come through a filter. I do love the Sabian animations. It looks pretty sick. Sharp UFO wound up being my favorite new dude. He does look cool and feels decent. I think he's a little overcosted. I'm not sure yet. It's a numbers phobie, so it's tough for me to, like... I mean, we could compare the base level ones, but inherently, being a melee phobie, he's so menacing. Yeah, it's true. Being a melee phobie, he even sounds cool when he flies. Like, the noise he makes sounds sick. If the phobie's melee, it, like, can't be better than a 7 out of 10 to me in almost every scenario. If it had, and when I say melee, I mean, so, for example, Noxious could be an 8 out of 10 because it does have a ranged ability. So it's not solely melee. Sabian, even though it's flying, by definition, it's melee. It's AoE, that means nothing, though. Like, 9 times out of 10, you're not getting an AoE hit. Like, Minotaur is a melee AoE, but who cares? It doesn't matter. Or the melee, the AoE that you connect with is meaningless. You know, it's like, oh, I hit their 2-1 keys. Like, whoa. See, like, here, we got a decent hit. Why bad guy allowed that to happen, I have no idea. I was busy looking at chat, honestly. And this is the thing. I usually try and play devil's advocate with a lot of this stuff, to a degree. Because when we're watching viewer games, very, very few people submit games to be like, here, I'm proving that this phobia is bad because I lost with it. Like, almost no one does that. Very few people submit losses, full stop. Would they have just killed this? I guess they just didn't want to get hit by the counter Noxious splash. Like, I don't... If the Phobie, regardless of the AoE or whatever, it's... The AoE is certainly better than if it was a single target melee Phobie. Like, duh, right? That's axiomatic. But that is not... And you end up getting hit with the... Like, why did they do this? They're under so much hard pressure, too. Oh, look at that. Look at all them panic points. Like, Sabian looked good here. And you could even probably say that there were things Sabian did in this game that no other Phobie could do. Because, like, flying, AoE, like we said. And I don't want to crap on Sabian, but, like, what did it do in that game that solidified a win for Potentia that could not be achieved by something else? And I'm not saying, oh, well, there are no other flying melee Phobies. That's not what I'm saying. Like, if you spent those 5 keys on some other relevant Phobie, pick one. It doesn't matter. Or multiples if you want to do, like, 3 and 2. What did Sabian offer there that you could not have accomplished, like, a similarly powerful strategy with something else? Now, if it turns out that Sabian is worthwhile in the sense that, oh, well, it is just, okay, this is another powerful thing you could do, okay, that's fine. But when we're evaluating these Phobies, we don't want to go, oh, well, it flies in its melee, it's therefore filling a niche that doesn't exist. It has to be good. Not everything that's unique is valuable. It has to pull its own weight in its own way and meaningfully. His level of tankiness can't go understated either with the flying and AoE. It's possible. It's possible. I think people tend to get overhyped about new stuff very easily, so I tend to be a little more pessimistic about it. It feels hard to press against in game. This is the first time I'm seeing him, like, in a game, so I'm willing to be open-minded about it. I didn't see anything there that seemed hugely, like, oh my god, this was so good. However, I will say that I do think Sabian... Is he 5 or 6? He's 6. Thought he was 5. It does have a lot of stats to its name. So it is possible that this guy is just big dum-dum enough to be able to make a difference. He punches stuff good, and that's all that matters. Like, Flying Minotaur may be good if the stats are pushed enough, which, as I was saying earlier, just push the melee stats until they feel problematic, and then maybe push them a little bit more beyond that, just to see, and then roll them back if we have to. Just to force people into things. Goon has the same stats, but has an ability which is technically better. Yeah, the ability is hugely powerful. Like, Goon's... I would take the Blom on Goon, Goon, all day, every day, over the flying and AoE for Sabian. Like, it's just more useful. Generally speaking. Obviously, there's scenarios where the flying AoE is going to be more important, but... the fact that it has Goon stats means that... I mean, we talked about it when Goon released. The guy has a lot of numbers. The guy has a lot and big numbers, so it definitely makes a difference. All right, Kat, I think we're going to do one more, chat. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, this will definitely be the last one if this is as long as the notes are saying. We got to end on this game, because the low stress level games are always hilarious. Yeah, this isn't that long. Dude, we had a 43-turn game earlier, rather. County is our hero on Ergo. Very long game, but trust me, it's worth the time checking out. Well, this isn't really that long of a game. I mean, it's a long-ish game, But I mean, we had one earlier that was 43 turns. If you're skipping, I'm repeating the statement I made as we were loading in, but these people just skip to this part. So this is a low stress level game. Counties is stress level 13. I point that out mostly because these games are always hilarious. Not specifically Counties, but low stress level games because people are just... It's a time you can't go back to. Once you've been in the Phobies ecosystem long enough, I mean, I guess if you know, like you play, but you don't really follow things. So you know there's a release, but you don't look at the patch notes or what the Phobies are. It's like, oh, what's that thing? When you zone into a game and somebody has something new. But when you first start Phobies, it's cool because pretty much every game you're loading in and somebody has something new and weird. And it's like, oh, what does that thing do? How does that work? And it's like, it is kind of exciting, especially because of the love that the art team puts into it. The other reason is because the games are an absolute shit show. Almost without fail. Because everyone starts doing things that make negative sense. Like, they make no sense. So, for example here, you probably could have just killed this Eternal Knight. It may not have been worth it, but you could have sniped the Eternal Knight, I think. Like Meatball and Jar, and then you body block with the your Gravedigger so it doesn't get pulled out of position. And I don't believe you probably even have seen a Snowball at this point. Bad guy dropping a block because reasons. I don't know. Very aggressive with their Eternal Knight, which is clearly just going to die. It is going to inflict a significant amount of damage. Kivo coming out. That's kind of a terror at this level. I do like the damage going down on Gravedigger just because it can't be healed off as readily. Although you could put the damage onto the bow to then force it back to the spa for X number of turns if you want to be more aggressive. But our hero here is going to bring an Inoculus out, which is going to elongate this game for sure. Bad guy with a Jar of their own. They do have kind of a fortress set up here with way more blocks. Our hero was very diligently clearing out their own obstacles. And by own obstacles, I mean the one in the center. It just makes the map look way more open. Happy. Now you know this guy loses. I just can't stand Happy. I just can't stand Happy. This annoys me. Also, are the spots on Happy supposed to be like rust spots? I think it's just because of the idle animation of him slowly moving. Or like subtly moving. But it feels like the spots pulsate. Which is weird. Alright, so since there is not a 1 key on the board, we got the Terraform back, which means that we can clear the path to close out the Jar. Ooh, a little under-leveled here. You hate to see it. But there's not enough pressure at the moment for Bad Guy to really push through and make something meaningful happen, aka get on the Inoculus. Probably going to see a dead Gravedigger, likely a dead Cassowary as well. So 5 keys down for 3. Seems like a bad trade, but a lot of things are in range of that Inoculus now. Admittedly, the Inoculus is in range of a counterattack, so it depends on what the takedowns are here from our hero. Target's going to be Bow, because Bow is in range of Jar. Down goes Bow. Panic Point, Reclaim. And we're in range to cover it, both from the Jar and the Inoculus. However, hey, Baby Snakey. Baby Snakey does have the same... So the spots are on... The same spots on Baby Snakey are on Sizzle. Although I think the veins are covered. Because obviously you have the ear hair fire. That's my biggest complaint about Sizzle. I think I'd feel better about Sizzle if he didn't look so stupid. But he looks stupid. He looks stupid. Dude, how many times are you gonna see sheep just do nothing? Sheep is a funny phobia, but like, it's... Dude, that is a juice taffy. Going after the heart... What? Why? Why? I get nothing you do matters here, but like... Dude, you didn't even kill it! Oh no, not like this! Oh, not like this. Did you have to sync the attacks from the erratic there? FBM? I don't know what that is. Haffy just getting ignored. Haffy wasn't ignored. That's the problem. Like, I wonder if you could have just ignored Haffy and it would have been better. Not like it matters, but... I mean, I guess this makes sense because it does allow for the baby Snaky to claim the top panic point, but like you could have used the Snaky in conjunction with whatever to kill that, then you kill the Hevo more readily. Ooh, we're going for a heart race? Alright, yeah, the erratic can just cover back here. Anywhere the murder wing goes. He's dead. And baby Snaky does represent a fairly significant amount of damage output. I think it's like 550 at level 1 or 650 at level 1, something like that. Probably 5. I doubt it's 6. Although, counties, I will tell you, if you're winning the game, as soon as you win, like, you don't have to kill their phobies if you're going to kill their heart. And obviously, you don't have to hit the heart if you're going to kill their phobies. What ends up happening is you get all of the resources that you would have gotten if you had done those things as soon as you win. Now, if you're losing... You need to do those things on the turn before you lose so that you can collect as many resources as you can before you hit caps, that sort of thing. G. Not bad, chat. Not bad. So we're going to close out chat. We'll be back tomorrow for Variety. I don't know what we're going to be playing. Quite possibly it's going to be Killer Clowns again. Because... other games seem like they're exiting their public beta stages, things that I was going to play. We'll see. I got to do a bunch of testing for Star Wars. I just haven't gotten the opportunity to, so I got to do some videos on that, or at least figure out what's going on. But that's going to do it for tonight. If you're interested in submitting your own games, hit up the Random Thoughts Discord. Of course, that's where you can find out details about Monster of the Week and other Phobies tournaments first. We may be doing a pack opening next week. I've been debating doing like more frequent pack openings, just obviously smaller scale than what we've been doing. So I'll probably open like 4 Dreadfuls or something like that and see what we get. People like seeing pack openings. I don't know why, but people like it. So we'll see. But that's going to do it for tonight. So as always, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Tune in next time for more Random Thoughts.